Hello everyone, and now we're on to the epics. And again, these aren't for the sensitive, they're quite raw. And we'll start with really my masterpiece, which took 10 years to write. And it's called The Woe of Roanoke, and it's about the notorious Scottish cannibal Sawney Bean and the lost colony of Roanoke. It wasn't the gale that chilled his skin as he mulled on the cannibal captured within. In trembling state he clinched his cane to rap at the gate of the jail in the rain. The jailer bade enter and bolted the door and jolted the ragged convict on the floor. He shook himself down to render some warm, then span in alarm as she seized his arm. Close to me, notary, sit near if you dare. Sunrise I'll swing from my tree of the hair. Wring your wet cloak and I'll narrate the tale of 1,000 folk that was 8. Put quill to ink and I will tell of those that now burn in hell. I'll tell of my past, that place I abhor, and them that scared Ayrshire for years 65. They say I'm a witch, which I say to them, nay, I'm a Christian now, I know how to pray. I've repented of the sin, lamented the crime. A new son's arrived, a husband who's kind, and my slate to lave this last night I'm confined. But your words just might leave my men unmolested, for I am the last of the Beans arrested. It's a boy. It's a brute. He's a bean. It's a mute. Oh, hold your son, father, for he is no freak. That it is, blink, good wife, it's got whiskers and teeth. He's smiling, that's scowling, and why is it not howling? I swear it by God, it's laying there growling, and hold it I'll not, in its pit I've seen. That predator's stare, I swear it's no bean, but a wolf clothed in a babe's pink skin. Imps have taken my innocent kin, and swapped it with this, a goblin twin. He tore at the breast, saw jest in the wail, and so was suckled straight from a pail. He came into the world callous and brawny. Alexander she named him, they nicknamed him Sawney. He was kept in a pen most day and all night, 'cause 'fore he could walk he would crawl to a fight. He bit all his brothers and strangled his pets, and snarled at his parents and dismissed their threats. At night, with a family fearful in bed, the yearling would laugh as he'd fill them with dread. He'd howl and bark, and he smashed up his room, and chillingly bout with himself in the gloom. His pa was crofting away in Kilwinning, when Sawney, aged 7, went to taste with a killing. He was grabbed in the fields by the twins McTavish, who trussed him in twine and beat him a savage. You ugly Ned, trespass you dare, we'll bat your head and burn your hair. We'll break your arms 10 fingers and then we'll beat you up for burning your den. The teens took a turn to sear him with brands from the fire he'd lit in McTavish's lands. He laughed through the pain, the smell and the smoke, then told their knell when he gnawed the rope. His pa had tried to teach him his trade, but Sawney the youth had only displayed an utter contempt for manual work, and daily slunk off to rob from the kirk. An encounter at 12 whilst digging a ditch was a vicious tryst with a fiery bitch, who smashed her fists into Sawney Bean, when taunted with smut she deemed obscene. Fight like a man, you bit me, miss, you swine. Off me big wench, I'll snap of your spine. He tore at her clothes, she flattened his nose and gouged his eyes and yanked his hair. A counter-attack laid bosoms bare, and blooded and ripped he mounted the mare. And then they were hitched, pa and the bitch. She showed him tricks to make them rich. She was his match in harsh and vice, and the pair of them both were the flip side of nice. Before he had anger, with her came rage. They planned to fly, escape the cage of labouring life in his ancestral home. Fools had gold they'd claim their own. They flew the nest in early teens. Their trade was made by menacing means. They found their way through the threat of a flay. Folks in fear for their lives would pay. Gert would flirt with drunks in the inn. Her trunked thighs seemed slimmer with gin. She'd flounce them out with a kiss and a grope, where pa would pounce, dirk to their throats. Now it's awakened, no, you'll not run away. Come to me, lass, for a roll in the hay. By her hair he hauled her, this horny goat herder. Sawney, in wait, saw his third gory murder. Now wanted for trial, the pair of them fled, night-time through towns, hunting for bread, to the forest of Galloway, there to make camp, to give birth to the first in the cold and the damp. Address you your notes, nervous young clerk. I was pressed out to the dark. 5 years in a pit with a fern for a door, a toil for food and the soil on the floor, just rat and root and dreams of boar. Winter and wolves with snow on the ground saw sisters of mine buried under a mound. Hunger pangs stabbed all us three, worse was the wail of the spirit banshee. Mother, curse her, felt him inside her, when Pa in the den heard the sound of a rider. Sprang out he with stealth and brought to the floor a pitiful father of a family of 4. Not even a coin had the man when he died, and by his groin dragged into our hide, with famine-thin fingers clawing within, he made us a meal from his first severed limb. I sat and I watched and I ate and I learned. By the glint in their eyes I knew that they'd turned. With blood-splattered chins I saw it first then. They were addicts that thirst for flesh of men. The meat made Ma strong, and after she bore a triplet of boys, and then there came more. Scores of poor riders died every year, till none ventured into the forest of fear. Our home was a hall from the bones of the mauled, and us now numbering 10. Logan's laird for reivers came through the woodland with all of his men. We scattered before the hand of the law rumbled our slaughterhouse midden. Sawney, I saw, by Satan was driven to the coast and a cavern near to Govan. A serpentine tunnel fathoms deep became his castle and our keep. Out from this fume-filled torch-lit lair he'd venture forth to plundered snare those alone and sometimes pairs. From a child I grew, and I witnessed lots. My toys were robbed off of Eton Scots, my clothes the finest clothing stolen, from wretched souls our bellies swollen. I alone he'd take to fairs, our pockets wide with others' wares. There we'd stock with things we need, and he'd get blind drunk on honey mead, and tell of his past and twisted creed. A starving start saw me late to bloom, fresh man flesh flowered 5 to groom. He most needed mead supplies, and I could calm suspicious eyes. So I was special just to him, a small respite for it was grim. An appetite unsatiated, eased a bit inebriated. Elspeth was the first pregnated. Megan next, then vexed Fanny, dwarfish Elsie, Cyclops Annie. Half his army was his harem, hefty as the males and wild. Bullied me to urchin minding, I the eldest looked a child. Mother said, "You'll ne'er produce," and started a chronic abuse.